Most people think height is power, that if you stand 7 feet 2 inches tall, if you tower over nearly every human being who walks the earth, then you are untouchable, unreachable, safe in the fortress of your own body. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar believed that once, for exactly 5 seconds. It's 1972, the Warner Brothers studio lot in Burbank, California. Soundstage 12, a cavernous space that smells of sawdust, sweat, and electrical heat from the massive overhead lights that hum like a swarm of mechanical bees. The air conditioning struggles against the California summer, pushing through the walls, leaving the air thick and close. In one corner, carpenters hammer together a wooden pagoda set. In another, costume racks overflow with silk robes in crimson and gold. The concrete floor is scuffed with decades of chalk marks, tape lines, and the ghosts of 1,000 other productions. In the center of this controlled chaos, two men stand facing each other. One is a giant, the other is not. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 25 years old, fresh off his second NBA championship with the Milwaukee Bucks, his body a study in vertical geometry, shifts his weight slightly, at 7 feet 2 inches and 240 pounds. He is accustomed to being the tallest person in every room he enters. His afro adds another 3 inches to his already overwhelming height. He wears simple black athletic pants and a white tank top that reveals arms long enough to span nearly a yard from shoulder to fingertip. His reach is legendary. In basketball, they measure it at 7 feet 5 inches. Fingertip to fingertip, he can touch parts of the world other men cannot even dream of accessing. He looks down, way down at Bruce Lee. Bruce is 31 years old, 5 feet 7 inches, 135 pounds. He wears his signature yellow tracksuit. Not the one from the movie that hasn't been made yet, but one just like it. His hair is perfectly styled, swept back from his forehead. His frame looks almost delicate next to Kareem's, like a sparrow standing beside an eagle. His hands rest loosely at his sides. His breathing is so controlled it appears he isn't breathing at all. They're here to film Game of Death, Bruce's passion project, his philosophical statement disguised as a martial arts film. The premise is simple. A fighter must ascend a pagoda, facing a different master on each level, each one representing a different style, a different approach to combat. Kareem will play Hakim, the final guardian, the ultimate test, the unbeatable opponent. But before they film, they train, they spar, they learn each other's rhythms, and that's where the doubt lives. Kareem shifts his stance again, his size 18 sneakers squeaking slightly on the concrete. He likes Bruce, respects him enormously. Bruce is a movie star, yes, but he's also the real thing, a true martial artist with a philosophy that extends beyond punching and kicking. They've talked for hours about Jeet Kune Do, about basketball, about racism in America, about the limitations society places on bodies that don't fit its expectations. They understand each other in ways that go beyond this film, beyond this moment, but understanding someone and believing they can reach you are two different things. Kareem's voice is deep, thoughtful, tinged with genuine curiosity rather than arrogance. Bruce, I've been thinking, with my height, my reach, I mean realistically, how would you even get to my head in a real situation? I can keep you at the end of my jab all day. You'd have to close a lot of distance just to make contact. He's not mocking. He's problem-solving. In basketball, he's learned that height is the great equalizer, the ultimate advantage. Players who are quick, skilled, intelligent, they can all be neutralized by someone who simply stands. Taller, reaches farther, physics doesn't lie, geometry doesn't exist. Bruce's expression doesn't change. His face remains perfectly calm, almost serene. But something shifts in his eyes. Not anger, not offense. Something closer to anticipation. Like a musician who's just been asked to demonstrate their instrument. Around them, the set crew continues working. A script supervisor reviews notes near the camera equipment. Two stuntmen stretch in the corner, preparing for their own scenes. A makeup artist walks past carrying a tackle box full of cosmetics. No one is paying particular attention to the two men in the center of the room. This is a working film set. Conversations happen, demonstrations occur. It's all part of the process. Bruce's voice, when he speaks, is quiet, measured. It carries a certainty that doesn't need volume. Kareem, your height is an advantage. Your reach is formidable. These are facts. He pauses, tilting his head slightly, as if listening to something only he can hear. But you're thinking like a basketball player. You're thinking about space you can control. That's not the same as space you can protect. Kareem frowns slightly. He's brilliant. A UCLA honor student, a voracious reader, a man who thinks deeply about everything he encounters. He doesn't dismiss ideas lightly. But he's also lived his entire life in this body, has spent thousands of hours learning exactly what it can do, what advantages it provides. I'm not sure I follow. Bruce takes a single step closer. Not aggressive, almost casual. In basketball, your opponents approach you from expected angles. They move according to rules, boundaries, a court with limits. You've trained your entire life to defend space within those parameters. Another step. The distance between them shrinks from 6 feet to 4 feet. But combat has no court, no boundaries, no referees to call traveling when someone moves in ways you don't anticipate. Kareem's shoulders tense slightly, not from fear, from a competitor's instinct, the recognition that a challenge has been issued, even if it's wrapped in philosophical language. So you're saying my height doesn't matter? I'm saying, Bruce replies, his voice soft as silk over steel, that advantages are only advantages if your opponent plays the game you've designed for them. A camera operator nearby glances over, sensing the shift in energy. The set isn't silent. Hammers still pound, voices still call back and forth. But there's a bubble forming around Bruce and Kareem, a pocket of focus that has its own gravity. Kareem straightens to his full height. From Bruce's perspective, he must look like a skyscraper. All right, show me. Bruce's smile is barely visible, a ghost of expression. I will demonstrate, but I need you to understand, this isn't about embarrassing you. This is about showing you the difference between reach, vulnerability, between controlling space and protecting yourself. Are you ready? Kareem nods. He's an athlete. He understands demonstrations. In practice, his coaches have thrown everything at him, shown him new defensive schemes, different ways players might attack. He can handle whatever Bruce is about to show him. It's all learning, all improvement. When I move, Bruce says, his voice dropping even lower, don't hold back. Defend yourself as you would in a real situation. Use your reach. Use your height. Try to keep me away. Got it. 5 seconds, Bruce says. His stance shifts subtly, feet spreading slightly, weight redistributing in a way that makes his center of gravity impossible to read. I only need 5 seconds. Kareem's brain catalogs the distance between them. 4 feet. His jab has a reach of over 3 feet. His legs can close or create distance. He's fast for a big man. People always underestimate how fast. He's ready. His hands come up into a loose guard, the natural position he'd take in a boxing gym. His back foot anchors, his weight balances. Time doesn't slow. That's a myth. But attention sharpens. The world doesn't disappear, but it recedes. The hammering fades. The voices become white noise. There's only Bruce 4 feet away, standing in a stance that looks almost lazy, and Kareem, towering above him, mathematically certain that 4 feet is more than enough space to control. Bruce moves. Not forward, not in a straight line, not in any direction Kareem's basketball-trained reflexes expect. He moves at an angle, 30 degrees to Kareem's left, cutting across his center line rather than approaching it. Kareem's jab fires out instinctively, aimed at where Bruce should be. But Bruce is already not there. He's shifted again, this time dropping his center of gravity so low it's as if his height has been cut in half. Kareem's punch sails through empty air above Bruce's head. 1 second gone. Kareem pivots, trying to reorient, his long legs adjusting his stance. But Bruce is already inside his defensive radius, has somehow closed the 4 feet of distance to less than 2 feet without appearing to move quickly. There's no rushed motion, no visible explosion of speed. He's simply closer, as if he teleported. 2 seconds. Kareem tries to create space, his foot sliding backward, his hands coming down in a defensive frame to protect his body. But Bruce is in the air, not jumping high. That's not the point. Jumping precisely. His trajectory isn't vertical. It's angular, spiraling, his body rotating as it leaves the ground. His right leg extends. 3 seconds. Kareem sees the foot coming toward his face. His hands are too low. He tries to raise them, but Bruce's movement has frozen his defensive timing. In basketball, you can predict jump shots, rebounds, passes. They follow parabolic curves, geometric certainties. This follows no curve Kareem has ever seen. Bruce's foot stops, impossibly stops, less than an inch from Kareem's jaw. Close enough that Kareem can feel the displacement of air against his skin. Close enough that he can see the perfect control in Bruce's ankle, the relaxed state of the foot that could have been a cross weapon but has chosen to be a lesson instead. 4 seconds. Bruce lands. His feet touch the ground with no sound. He's inside Kareem's guard, close enough to embrace him, close enough that all of Kareem's reach advantage has become meaningless. His hand, open palm, not a fist, rises slowly, deliberately, and taps Kareem's chest directly over his heart. Not a strike. A touch, gentle as a friend getting your attention. 5 seconds. Bruce steps back. The distance between them returns to 4 feet. He's breathing normally. His yellow tracksuit hasn't even wrinkled. His expression is exactly what it was before. Calm, thoughtful, friendly. As if he hasn't just completely dismantled every assumption Kareem held about the protective value of his own body. Kareem stands frozen, not from fear, from recalibration. His brain is doing what it does best, analyzing, processing, understanding. In 5 seconds, Bruce closed distance Kareem thought was safe. Evaded a strike Kareem thought was fast. Reached a target Kareem thought was unreachable, and did it all with such control that he could have hurt him, but chose not to. The set noise returns, the hammering, the voices. A producer walks by with a clipboard, completely unaware that anything significant has happened to everyone else. It was just two actors working out choreography, a brief exchange, a moment of practice. But Kareem knows what he just experienced. It wasn't choreography. It wasn't movie magic. It was something much more profound, the complete dissolution of an assumption he didn't even know he was making. His height didn't matter. His reach didn't matter. His athletic ability didn't matter. In 5 seconds, every advantage he'd built his life around was rendered irrelevant by someone who understood not just how to fight, but how to think about fighting in a way Kareem had never considered. Bruce watches him, waiting. Not gloating, not proud, just present, giving Kareem space to process what just happened. Kareem's voice comes out rough. He clears his throat. I didn't even see you move. You saw me move, Bruce corrects gently. But you were looking for movement. You expected linear approaches, direct attacks. You were defending against the fighter you imagined I was, not the fighter I am. Kareem's jaw works. He's not used to being wrong. Not because he's arrogant, he isn't, but because he's usually so careful in his thinking, so thorough in his analysis, that errors are rare, and yet here he stands. Fundamentally wrong about something he was absolutely certain of just 10 seconds ago. Show me again, he says, slower this time, I need to understand. Bruce's smile widens. Not mockery, recognition, the smile of a teacher who's found a student worth teaching. Now you're asking the right question. Not how did you reach me, but help me understand. That's the difference between ego and growth. He steps forward again. This time, he moves in slow motion, narrating his own movement. I don't approach your center line. That's where your power lives. Instead, his foot slides at an angle. I move across your field of vision, forcing your eyes to track laterally while your body is still oriented forward. Your brain experiences a tiny delay, milliseconds, as it processes conflicting information. Kareem watches, his eyes tracking Bruce's foot. He can see it now, the angle of approach that creates confusion rather than confrontation. Then I drop my level. Bruce sinks lower, his knees bending until his center of gravity is below Kareem's waist. Most fighters defend against threats that approach them at their own height. You're defending against someone 7 feet tall because that's who you spar against. But I'm not 7 feet, I'm 5'7", and I can make myself 5 feet, 4 feet, depending on what I need. Your hands are guarding space I'm not occupying. It's so obvious now, so clear. Kareem feels a flush of something, not quite embarrassment, but close. The feeling of having missed something fundamental. And the kick, Bruce continues, doesn't come straight. It spirals. He demonstrates again, his leg rising in a corkscrew motion, the trajectory impossible to track with linear prediction. Your basketball reflexes are trained for parabolic motion. Balls follow arcs. Bodies jump vertically. But martial arts motion can be circular, spiral, indirect. By the time your eyes tell your brain where my foot is, it's already somewhere else. He completes the slow-motion demonstration, his hand again tapping Kareem's chest. And here I'm inside your reach entirely. Your arms are too long to defend this space effectively. The advantage has become a disadvantage. Your height creates a vulnerability right at your center that shorter fighters don't have. Kareem exhales slowly. It's a long breath, the kind you release when you've just learned something that changes how you see the world. It's brilliant. It's honest, Bruce corrects. I can't match your reach. I can't match your height. So I don't try. I use different geometry, different physics. I fight the fight I can win, not the fight you want me to fight. Around them, the set continues its organized chaos. The director calls for a lighting check. Someone tests a smoke machine, and theatrical fog begins rolling across the concrete floor, curling around their ankles like ghostly water. Kareem looks down at Bruce, literally down, the persistent reality of their height difference, but now he's seeing something different, not a smaller man, not a less capable fighter. He's seeing a different kind of mastery entirely, one that doesn't rely on physical advantages, but on understanding their limitations and transcending them. I thought, Kareem says slowly, that my height made me untouchable. No, Bruce replies. His voice is kind. Your height makes you powerful in certain contexts. On a basketball court with rules designed around vertical reach, you're nearly unstoppable. But change the context, change the rules, change the geometry of engagement, and every advantage can become neutral, or even a liability. Kareem nods. He's quiet for a moment, thinking. When he speaks again, his voice carries a different quality, not defeat, but humility, real humility, the kind that comes from genuine learning, rather than forced deference. I need to train with you, not just for the movie. Really train. I want to understand this. Yes, Bruce says simply, you do. And that's how it begins. Not with humiliation, not with a dominant fighter crushing a novice, but with a teacher showing a student that the world is larger than they thought, that assumptions, even reasonable ones, can limit understanding, and that true strength often comes from acknowledging what you don't know. Over the following weeks, Kareem becomes Bruce's student in earnest. They train before shoots, after shoots, sometimes through shoots, turning the choreography sessions into genuine learning experiences. Bruce teaches him not how to fight. Kareem isn't trying to become a martial artist, but how to think about movement, about strategy, about using misdirection and angles instead of relying solely on physical gifts. Kareem learns that his height, which he's always seen as his primary advantage, has made him lazy in certain ways. He's never had to think deeply about positioning because he could always simply reach over opponents. He's never had to develop sophisticated footwork because his stride length compensated for imprecise steps. His advantages allowed him to succeed without mastering fundamentals that smaller players must perfect just to compete. Bruce shows him film of his own basketball games, pointing out moments where better footwork could have made him even more unstoppable, where more efficient motion could have conserved energy, where reading angles could have prevented defensive breakdowns. He applies martial arts principles to basketball, and Kareem's game actually improves. The next season, sports writers note that he seems to have better balance, more fluid movement. They assume it's age and maturity. Kareem knows it's because a man 2 feet shorter than him taught him how to move. But the lessons go deeper than technique. One afternoon, they're sitting in director's chairs during a lighting setup. The crew is adjusting gels and scrims, trying to create the perfect shadow pattern for a pagoda interior scene. Someone brings them water. The California sun beats down on the soundstage roof, making the whole structure creak and tick like a living thing. You know, Kareem says, I've been thinking about that first demonstration. The 5 seconds. Bruce sips his water, waiting. You could have actually hit me. You pulled that kick, stopped it short. Of course. Why? Kareem turns to look at him. I mean, I was asking for a demonstration. You were making a point. You could have made it harder. Bruce sets his water down carefully. His face becomes serious, thoughtful, because demonstrating mastery doesn't require dominance. I didn't need to hurt you to teach you. In fact, hurting you would have taught the wrong lesson. You would have learned that I could hit you, which is boring. What's more important, learning that you were wrong about something fundamental, or learning that I can kick hard? Kareem considers this. You're saying the restraint was the real demonstration? The restraint, Bruce says, was the real mastery. Anyone with sufficient training can throw a powerful kick. Far fewer people can throw a powerful kick and choose not to. Stopping 1 inch from your face requires more control than hitting it. And that control, that choice, that's what I wanted you to see. Teaching instead of dominating. Teaching instead of destroying. Bruce's eyes are intense now, focused. This is what I'm trying to put in Game of Death. The pagoda isn't about me beating people up. It's about different philosophies of strength. Hakeem, your character, represents one approach, using overwhelming physical advantages. You're supposed to be nearly unbeatable because of your size and reach, but the hero must find a way to succeed anyway, not by becoming bigger, but by thinking differently, by changing the nature of the contest itself. Kareem nods slowly. So when I doubted you could reach me, you were thinking inside a paradigm that made sense for your experience. Basketball rewards height. Your entire life has reinforced that. Taller is better, longer reach is advantageous. You weren't being stupid. You were being logical within your framework. My job wasn't to mock that framework. It was to show you a different one. To expand your understanding, not diminish it. You made me better instead of making yourself feel bigger. Exactly. Bruce leans back in his chair. The sun has shifted, and a shaft of light cuts across his face, making him squint slightly. You know what I see when I look at you, Kareem? What? Someone who worked incredibly hard to maximize the gifts they were given. Someone who didn't just rely on height, but built skill, intelligence, discipline around it. You could have been lazy, many tall players are, but you became excellent. That's worth respecting, not tearing down. Kareem feels something loosen in his chest. He's experienced plenty of racism in his life, plenty of people dismissing his accomplishments by saying he's only successful because he's tall, as if height alone could win NBA championships. He's sensitive to the difference between acknowledging advantage and reducing someone to only their advantages. Bruce understands that distinction. When we film our fight scene, Kareem says, I want to make sure we get this right. Not just the choreography, the philosophy. Hakeem shouldn't be stupid or slow. He should be legitimately formidable. So when your character defeats him, it means something. Bruce's face lights up. Yes, that's exactly right. Winning against a weak opponent proves nothing. The journey up the pagoda only matters if each level is genuinely difficult. Each master must be worthy of respect, must represent a real threat. Otherwise, the victory is hollow. They sit in comfortable silence for a moment. Around them, the crew continues working. Someone drops a metal light stand, and the crash echoes through the soundstage. A assistant director calls out, 15 minutes to positions. Bruce Kareem says thank you. For what? For those 5 seconds. For showing me instead of mocking me, for making me better instead of making me feel small. Bruce reaches over and clasps Kareem's shoulder. His hand barely spans the width of deltoid muscle, but the grip is firm, genuine. You're going to have a long career, Kareem. Basketball? Yes. But after basketball, too. You're going to teach, write, speak. People will listen to you because of your accomplishments, but they'll remember you because of how you made them feel. Learn this lesson now. When you're the most knowledgeable person in the room, when you have the most skill or experience, you can choose to dominate or you can choose to elevate. The first makes you powerful in that moment. The second makes you powerful across generations. Is that how you think about your films, your teaching? It's how I think about life. Bruce stands, stretching. His body moves with liquid efficiency, no wasted motion. I'm 5'7". I'm Chinese in an industry that barely has roles for people who look like me. I could spend my life angry about limitations, fighting against every person who doubts me, trying to prove dominance, to feel worthy. Or I can accept what I am, maximize it, and show others, especially others who feel limited, that constraints can be transcended with the right thinking. That's the real fight, not against individuals who doubt you, but against the idea that doubt is justified. Kareem rises too, unfolding his tremendous height until he towers over Bruce again. The physical reality reasserts itself. He is taller. His reach is longer. These facts haven't changed, but everything else has. They film Game of Death over the following weeks. The fight scene between them becomes legendary in martial arts circles, one of Bruce Lee's final complete sequences before his death the following year. In it, Hakeem Kareem's character uses his height and reach to dominate the early exchanges. Bruce's character struggles, visibly frustrated by the physical mismatch. The audience is meant to wonder how he can possibly win, and then he changes strategies, stops trying to fight Hakeem's fight, uses angles, level changes, unorthodox movement. Exactly what Bruce demonstrated to Kareem in 5 seconds, now expanded into a full cinematic sequence. When Bruce's character finally defeats Hakeem, it's not because Hakeem was weak, it's because Bruce's character thought differently. The film is never completed in its original form. Bruce dies in July 1973, leaving hours of footage that will be cobbled together years later into a different version of the movie. But the footage of their fight survives, pristine and powerful, a document of two masters, one of basketball, one of martial arts, creating something that transcends both sports. Kareem carries the lesson for the rest of his life. In 1975, he's traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. Over the next 14 years, he becomes the NBA's all-time leading scorer. He wins 6 MVP awards, 5 more championships. He's inducted into the Hall of Fame. His skyhook becomes the most unstoppable shot in basketball history, partly because of his height, but mostly because of the footwork, the angles, the efficiency of motion he learned from a man 2 feet shorter than him. In interviews, he talks about Bruce Lee often, about the 5 seconds, about learning that advantages must be paired with humility or they become vulnerabilities, about restraint being a form of mastery. Sports journalists don't always know what to do with these philosophical tangents, but they write them down anyway, sensing importance even when they don't fully understand. Years later, Kareem becomes an author. He writes about history, race, social justice, basketball, philosophy, His books are thoughtful, humble, eager to teach rather than dominate. He could write from a place of superiority. He has the credentials, the accomplishments, the platform, but instead, he writes as a student, always learning, always questioning, always open to being shown that his assumptions might be wrong. His voice becomes one of the most respected in sports precisely because he doesn't use his authority to diminish others. When younger players make mistakes, he teaches them. When society doubts him, he responds with evidence and grace rather than anger. When he's proven wrong, he acknowledges it and adjusts his thinking. People who know him well understand that this approach, this philosophy, comes from a moment on a soundstage in 1972, from 5 seconds that changed everything. In 2020, 47 years after Bruce Lee's death, Kareem is asked in an interview about his relationship with Bruce. The interviewer is young, probably doesn't fully grasp the significance of what she's asking. She phrases it casually. Did you guys actually spar, or was it just movie choreography? Kareem smiles. He's 73 now. His body is older, but his mind is sharp as ever. We sparred once, he says. Really sparred before we filmed anything. I made the mistake of thinking my height made me unreachable. He pauses, looking past the camera, into memory. Bruce taught me that reach and protection are different things, that you can control space and still be vulnerable, that the best defense is understanding your opponent's strategy, not just relying on your advantages. What happened? He reached me, Kareem says simply, in 5 seconds, and he did it without ego, without trying to humiliate me, without needing to prove he was superior. He just showed me reality, taught me to think differently, made me better. That must have been frustrating. Kareem shakes his head. It was liberating. I spent my whole life being the tallest person in the room, building my identity around this advantage I was born with. Bruce showed me that gifts are starting points, not destinations. That real mastery comes from transcending your advantages, not relying on them. He made me a better basketball player. More importantly, he made me a better person. The interviewer, sensing she stumbled onto something important, presses, how so? Because he showed me how to win without destroying, how to teach without diminishing, how to be powerful without being cruel. Those 5 seconds weren't about martial arts or basketball. They were about what you do when you have power over someone. Do you crush them, or do you show them something that makes them stronger? Bruce chose the latter. Always. And I've tried to do the same ever since. The interview goes viral not because of the martial arts demonstration, that story has been told before, but because of how Kareem tells it. With gratitude, with reverence, with the humility of someone who learned something profound and never forgot it. Young athletes watch the clip. They see one of basketball's greatest legends talking about being bested by someone 2 feet shorter. And instead of shame, there's pride in the learning. They see that being wrong isn't weakness, it's opportunity. That acknowledging someone else's mastery doesn't diminish your own. That the strongest people are those who can be taught. Martial artists watch it and feel validated. For decades, they've been explaining that size isn't everything. That technique and strategy can overcome physical disadvantages, but they've struggled to be believed by a culture that worships size and strength. Here's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 7'2", the NBA's all-time leading scorer, confirming it, admitting it, celebrating it. Teachers watch it and see a perfect lesson in pedagogy. Bruce didn't lecture Kareem about angles and timing. He showed him. Let him experience the gap between assumption and reality, then explained it. Gave him the framework to understand what had just happened. Education through demonstration, through experience, through respect. The clip gets millions of views, generates thousands of comments, spawns think pieces about coaching, about humility, about the difference between dominance and mastery. Bruce Lee has been dead for nearly 50 years. But through Kareem's words, he teaches one more time. And somewhere in all those views, all those comments, all those shares, there's you, watching this story, thinking about these 5 seconds. Here's the question you need to answer. Who in your life have you dismissed because they don't match your idea of what powerful looks like? Who have you underestimated because they're shorter, younger, quieter, less credentialed than you expect expertise to be? What assumptions are you making about reach and vulnerability, about your own advantages and limitations? When you're proven wrong, not if, but when, because everyone is eventually wrong about something important. How do you respond? Do you defend your ego? Do you dismiss the evidence? Do you attack the person who showed you your error? Or do you do what Kareem did? Stop, breathe, and say, show me again. I need to understand. Think about the last time you won an argument. The last time you were right and someone else was wrong. The last time you had more knowledge, more experience, more skill than someone you were talking to. In that moment of advantage, what did you choose? Did you crush them? Did you humiliate them? Did you make sure they felt the full weight of their wrongness? Or did you teach them? Did you pull your kick? Did you stop 1 inch from their face and show them that you could have hurt them but chose not to? Did you make them better or make them smaller? This is the test Bruce Lee gave Kareem. This is the test Kareem passed by becoming a student. This is the test that reveals who you really are. 5 seconds can change everything. It takes 5 seconds to reach someone you thought was unreachable. 5 seconds to demonstrate mastery. 5 seconds to humiliate or educate. 5 seconds to destroy or build. The 5 seconds are always coming. The question is what you'll do with them. Because in the end, true power isn't measured by who you can defeat. It's measured by who you choose to elevate. Legacy isn't built in your victories. It's built in how you treat the people you defeat. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is 7 feet 2 inches tall. Bruce Lee was 5 feet 7. But in the arena, that matters. The arena of lasting impact, of generational influence, of lives changed and people elevated, they stood exactly the same height. Masters, teachers, humans who understood that the real fight is always against smallness, against cruelty, against the easy temptation to use power as a weapon instead of a gift. The question isn't whether you can reach the people around you. The question is what you'll do once you arrive. Will you strike, or will you touch their chest gently, right over their heart, and say, I could have hurt you, but I chose to teach you instead? 5 seconds. That's all it takes to show someone who you really are. Make them count.